Now then.
Alrighty.
Best thing ever.
Back again. Working on the weekend this time.
We get paid time and a half for this show, right?
Allegedly.
That's what I hope so, man. So welcome to the show, Paul.
Hello, guys. How you doing?
Doing good, man. That looks like a Tom Brady shirt, so a lot of people that are watching right now are going to hate you.
Yeah, my friend bought it me this afternoon. He said, you've got to do an interview. You've got to do it with some USA colours on your top.
Well, we're both from New England, so you're not going to get a problem from us.
Right.
So how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm awesome, man. Just chilling. It's evening over here, so just had a nice, easy day. Nipped into the gym and just been waiting for you guys to call and have a good chat.
Sweet.
Very cool. So you're back from Worlds. Tell me about how your impressions of Worlds. Obviously, we have this little match queued up. We're going to show people. But I'm just curious about after, it's been a couple of weeks, what you think of the experience there, and are you planning on going back to Turkey, etc.?
Well, basically, yeah. I mean, I've been to, I think it's like 3 or 4 worlds. Worlds. I love the WAF setups. I just like the rigid rules. I like how everything just seems 1 billion% fair, apart from Lem's call. But no, but see, I just love the rigid rules. I love it how all the countries come together. It's just the fact that it's, how can I put it? It's just phenomenal, the amount of guys that roll up, all the training. It just feels like you're watching athletics on TV. It's not a back underground sport. There's 2,000 people there. They're the best people out of them countries, and you're involved. And sometimes it's more like a fairy tale when you look on. I mean, you think you're watching a football as a kid or soccer, and you're thinking that's my hero. But they've got young people out there who's thinking the exact same thing about you.
Sure.
So it's awesome. It's just awesome. And for Turkey, I'll be going back and I'll be winning gold.
I do not doubt that. I mean, those of you guys who saw the match, I think most people who watched the finals match that you just had think that you did, in fact, win it. But, I mean, what impresses me, I've watched a lot of your videos over the last 2 days, Paul, is 2 things. Number one, your power is excellent. And a lot of matches that you have with, really great arm wrestlers, you take them out pretty quickly. And the other thing that I appreciate about your style is that you have a lot of endurance, which I think is a really great asset, especially at an event like Worlds, where you're pulling over an extended period of time and not necessarily being able to predict when your next matches are. So before we show people some of your matches, tell me a little bit about like your training and what it looks like and how it's evolved over the years and that kind of stuff.
Well, I think my first tournament was 1998, so obviously for 2 years I couldn't even touch a weight. I was like, the achy breaky feeling, you're getting around and you're like,
Sure.
You're going home and I've still got my mum bathing me. I'm 20 years old. And I think that for 2 years, like I said, I couldn't touch a weight. And then I'm not really much of a weightlifter. And then I met Neil Pickup. And then he invited me to this, what we call a silly Sunday. And I think this is where the endurance comes from. We started training at 9:30 in the morning and we finished at 6 p.m.
Wow.
And he used to preach to me at this point in time that this will get you ready for the big tournaments later on. So when you're in a class for 2-3 hours, this is going to make, this is going to make your day. This is what's going to make you the different arm wrestler from everybody else. When they're tiring, if you can get through 2 or 3 rounds, then you're going to make it. You have a very good chance. And I think this year at Worlds, I think that philosophy, which I still use, I think that that was the difference maker, which got me to the final fresh. And to be honest with you, I didn't even feel like I had a pull all the way through the rounds. And I think that's a big thing for me. I work a lot with the power, the 10 sets of 3, just one exercise. I try and not have any sessions longer than 40 minutes, 45 minutes, because I feel like you drop off. So 10 sets of 3, 1 minute exercise, a couple of 2 sets of 10, on various body parts, and then it's have a rest, and then back at it again at night. Maybe another 10 sets of 3 on my wrist, maybe at speed. I don't do anything more than 5 repetitions anymore.
Okay.
Everything I do endurance-wise is table. Our warm-ups probably about 40 minutes. I mean, all we're doing is we're sitting. We have a thing what I involved called 25, 50, 75, 100s, and basically we'll work a basic top roll, and it's just working together, and it's just basically 25% for 10 reps, and then you work down to 60%, and then 30%, and then a 1 rep maximum at the end. And it takes a good minute, and we do that 3 sets on top roll, 3 sets on hook, 3 sets on press, and then we start getting into the arm wrestling when we're fully warm, and we can then start building the power with the hits. So very basic but good.
That's a pretty detailed explanation, which is awesome. Craig Soublier is curious about how you split that up over the week. I mean, do you incorporate rest days? Or are you doing it every day?
It depends on the time of year. I mean, I try and break down for the tournaments what my training schedule is going to be like. I mean, you know yourself, you can't commit to 7 days a week, 350 odd days a year. It's difficult to do that, especially when you're training at a full velocity. So I tend to break off. I'll do 2 days on, 1 day off. But on the 2 days on, it'll be 2 sessions or maybe 3 sessions in that day. But I try and get the full 1 day off. Maybe we'll do 8 miles walking down the canal in the cardio, get the blood around the body, but just take it away from the joints. So generally that's the way I'll do it. So if you want to go a bit more detailed, I'll work with 1 back exercise basically. The hammer strength.
Yikes!
Oh boy,
he disappeared. Now we have to fill up the time while John gets him back, which hopefully.
Hello guys, you got me?
Yeah,
we're back.
Here. We got you. We only lost you for like 30 seconds.
Oh my gosh, I wonder what's going on.
That's Skype for you. Skype is an imperfect.
Can you hear me okay though, guys?
Oh yeah, we hear you great. We only missed like 3 seconds.
Okay, cool. I shit myself then.
Dude, every single show there's always some hiccup.
Yeah, the last thing we heard was the hammer strength.
Yeah.
Okay, so the hammer strength machine, and you sit in and you've got a chest plate, and I put the extreme fat grip, and I'll put it down, and it'll just be into this position. And I'll work off the reps. It'll be like 10 sets of 3 on a Monday, and it's like bang, 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 and then that's it basically. Then same with the left arm. But then after 72 hours, so for instance, that'll be in the morning with a few other exercises, and night will be the wrists. So I'll go to my machine in the back room, and it'll always be, how can I put it? I lie over the arm wrestling table, so I'm sort of in this position. And it'll just be bam, bam.
Hit your video button again so we can see the position you're talking about.
Oh, there we go, bud. Are we here? Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, we're there.
We're back.
So show us that position again.
I lie across the arm wrestling table.
Yep.
In this position, so I'm like that, and it's just boom, boom, boom with speed.
Nice.
Everything's done at maximum velocity. Because if you see my matches, you see that I'm a very quick arm wrestler, and I think that I do that to utilise getting into the A side position first. It's very important for me, who's not a really, really strong guy, to at least utilise that position, try and get my opponent into the ball instead of into the muscle. And then 72 hours later, it'll go into heavy. So the same exercises, I only have about 6 different exercises, no more, and it'll just be 10 sets of 1. So that's when I'm working on the power, and that's when I work down on the back and the static. And if you see most of my setups at World, you'll see that I tuck under, take a lat pull down, tuck under, and I've got it, so I'm already fully loaded like a coiled spring.
Sure.
And on it's ready to go. And then obviously as you hit in, it's a pendulum, and I'm pendulum over, and as fast as the pendulum moves, that's when you get your snap. So basically, it's very simple, but
that's
effective.
Awesome. I like that very much. It you know what, John? Can we watch that match between Paul and Tommy? Because I think the exercise you were just talking about, when you're laying your arm across the table, you can sort of see that in the match you had with Tommy, which we're going to play. It's from 6 years ago, so hopefully I'm not going to embarrass you, but it's
the bald-headed version.
Yeah, the ball-headed version of Paul. First time I watched it, I was like, is that really him? But,
can you guys see it?
it?
Okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
That's the pre-coma version.
So I think you guys will like this video. It's good. So there might not be any sound, but yeah, see how you catch him? That's kind of like the same position you were just talking about.
Yeah, I get under that. In this match, I struggled for top rolling Tommy because I've been training me up so much for him. Because I think Tommy, at this point in time, Tommy was an absolute warrior.
Yeah.
And he was training with Johan Lindholm, who was, back in 2003, like second in the world. And this meant a lot because at this point in time, I started to come into my own, and I was pretty much untouchable domestically at the time. And 2 months later, that's when I went in the coma for 6 weeks. So.
Oh, is that right before you got sick?
Yeah, 2 months before. 2 months before, yeah. So,
dude, I'll tell you, man, that sucks when that happens. I mean, we both had major medical things happen that took us out of the scene for a few months. But, and it seems like, to be honest with you, there's quite a few arm wrestlers who have been through things like that.
Yeah.
And it's, let's talk about that. There's some more questions coming up, but I'm going to get to them. But what was it like for you coming out of the sickness and having to, to a certain extent, start over? At least for me, I felt like I was skinny and weak, and felt like I was completely starting over. Did you have that sensation as well?
Oh man, I couldn't. I went in 107 kilos hospital, and I come out at 73. So, I went in. I'm not joking. My biceps were like 19.5 inches, something stupid. Not that I measured them, but they were big. They were big.
Guesstimations.
And I come out and I had tracheotomy, so I couldn't speak. So I'm like there inside ward, and I'm like Darth Vader with his mask off with pipes, and I managed just to look at my arm, and I just burst into tears. It was like a broom, and it was heartbreaking because I've played rugby since being a young kid. I've always been involved in sport, and then when you build something and you honestly believe that you will be going to become to the toppest level, because I've competed with all the top guys, and I've not quite, I never quite got there. Do you know what I mean? I was always that little percentage below, but I honestly believe before I got ill, I was 12 months I'd have been there. And when that gets snatched away, Josh, as you know, and then you look at yourself and you think, oh my God, what's happened? And I was struggling lifting 5 kilo dumbbells, and I couldn't even straighten my fingers. I was in a bit of a wheelchair, Zimmer frame, and you think your world's ended. But there's just something inside you, and I think it's after becoming a sportsman that just makes you want to. You just got a fire. If you're into sport and you've got a fire and a passion, and arm wrestling, it's a passion. And I just think all the guys. I mean, there was 21, 22 pages all the way from on the northeast border of all the US guys wishing me well. Come back, Paul. See you soon. And just reading that, I'm bursting. You're bursting into tears, and you're thinking, I've got to come back. I've got to come back.
Right.
And I don't think I've ever been the same guy yet as before I went in hospital. But the passion and the hunger for the sport is still there. So that's
Do you think that there are pieces of you that is actually better than before, just because of the fight that you had to go through to come back?
Mentally, yeah.
Yeah.
Mentally, I'm so much better. It puts things into perspective. I love arm wrestling. Don't get me wrong. Arm wrestling is everything. But when you nearly lose your life, and there's so many more things in perspective that mean so much more. Mm-hmm. And I just think, how can I put it?
Dude,
you become hardened. You become different. You become a different person.
Totally agree.
And you can take things on. And me lost to 10 years ago. Me lost in that second position in the world. I mean, I was gutted. I was ready for dropping my medal in bin. But that loss 10 years ago would have killed me. But now I've got a drive in me that makes me want to come back next year and win and win and win and win and win. Because I still want to be the best in the world.
Sure.
Whether I still I can beat Krudnik or Todd Hutchins or anybody else like that, that's left to be seen. I'm not saying I can do this, but I still have the hunger to do it. But I have the mental capacity now to believe I can do it, because I've come back from 6 weeks and a hiatus in a coma. So if I can do that, I can achieve anything else. So,
Dude, I mean, I was only in the hospital 3 weeks, and I lost, I think, maybe 15 kilos. And
That's enough. Mate.
yeah, it was tough, but I mean, it took me, I was walking around with a PICC line, which is basically you're walking around with a mobile IV that was injecting antibiotics into me for 3 months, and I wasn't allowed to lift anything more than 5 pounds. And it's incredible how hard it is to see everybody exercising and doing well and competing. And I couldn't walk from, my bed to my front door without feeling like I was going to pass out. But then, like, little by little, just like you said, you see all these comments. It's exactly the same thing. And Derek Worth is just posting that, he went through something similar. So I completely agree with you that it changes your perspective on everything. And as important as arm wrestling or climbing or running is, it just makes you appreciate every moment that you have more. But it also does give you more of a fire to fight for those moments and make the most out of them, because you don't know how many you're going to have. And so I agree with you that regardless of whether we ever are exactly the same physically as we were beforehand, mentally, I feel like you are much stronger because you've been through something very difficult, but also you have a much stronger drive and motivation as a result of, being shown very clearly that life is tenuous and there's no such thing as a guarantee.
I think a lot of the things when you've been ill as well is the after effects. I mean, when people see you, think, oh, you're looking well, you look well, but you'll know this yourself mentally that it takes you a long time to actually believe you're well again, because you worry. I mean, I was the slightest little pain in my chest. It was wind, and I'm thinking to myself, oh gosh, it's an heart attack. I don't want to go back in hospital.
Right.
I don't want to go back in hospital. And these, for me, were probably mini panic attacks. And these was probably the worst things I went through was the aftermath, because you was worrying because you never wanted to be in that situation again. And I think that's where a bit of the mental toughness comes through. That the fact now, if I'm lifting a rep in the gym and it burns, so what? I ain't putting that weight down. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's nothing to me anymore. I mean, well, when I was dieting for that WAL, I was doing 8 miles a day, walking down the canal and blisters all over my feet. And it was pleasant because I was happy to do it, because I was happy to be alive. I won't lie. I think that's the difference in mentality that you have. You appreciate every day as it comes, and you're willing to do whatever.
Well, let's hope you never have to go through that again, man.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I thought so.
My poor co-host John here has to go under surgery in a few weeks. Actually, exactly a month from now, right, John? So hopefully, we're gonna hope that you don't go into a coma. But if you do go into a coma and almost die, you have this to look forward to afterwards. So
awesome!
Well, be careful.
Little silver lining for you, so don't worry too much. All right, let me get some more of these questions.
I feel better already, guys.
So, we always get this question about folks. For people. This is from William Sisk. He's curious about what your diet looks like, and is it an important part of your training? Is that something you really focus on? And is it different now versus before you got sick, etc.?
Pretty much, I'm one of the guys that pretty much eat whatever they want. I walk around about 102 kilos, 225 pounds. Mm-hmm. So I can eat anything I want and stay around there. For the last couple of years, I've been very much cautious of what I've been eating. 6-7 meals a day, small portions. Similar to most people. Mm-hmm. But I started taking on a vegetarian diet about 16 months ago. Reason being, I was trying to make the 88 kilo diet for a while. To be honest, I felt absolutely amazing. No bloating, my stomach. So I a bit of power, but you're missing the creatine, because you get your creatine from your meat. So, and I wasn't supplementing with creatine, so I felt a little bit like I had that lack of energy, but I felt fast, I felt good. Mm-hmm. But I always felt I was missing something. When I put the meat back in, my level just went boom, and I think that I feel more powerful and stronger now the meat's back in than I ever did without the vegetarian food. I've done it all now. I've given it a good try. Good 15 months I give it. And I believe that putting the meat in, I missed it and I needed it. So,
Did you, after you came back to eating meat, did you find that you ate the same amount as you did before? Or did you eat less and have more vegetables? Or did you find like a balance, or did you just kind of go back to what you did before?
to be honest with you, for the first 7 days, I gobbled about 15 chickens a day. I'm like an advert for KFC, but gradually, I have a couple of portions of meat a day now. Mainly fish. I do have a better balanced diet. I have a how can I put it? The word would be I think about more what I eat more because when I started the vegetarian diet, I didn't think about the animals. I did it as a bet. My mate said, you can't be a vegetarian for a month. I didn't do it for a month, I did it for 15. So I started to develop a conscience about the animals, which I think kept me going for so long. The thing is now, even though I'm eating meat, I appreciate the animal more, what it gives me. I know it sounds a little bit strange, but I actually appreciate it. I won't just aimlessly just start scoffing a burger. If I'm eating something, I'm a bit of a religious guy. I say a bit of a prayer for it and thank you for its sacrifice. That's how I get myself through it that way. So.
Well, it's not even all that odd to think about that. I mean, there are plenty of people who are against things like, hunting for sport, but they're, well, if you're going to hunt and eat it, then it's totally, people have very different views on that. It's really not too crazy to think, well, it's a necessary sacrifice for, I'm on top of the food chain. Sorry, cow. I need food. I need food, but thank you.
I agree with that. If you go out and you're fishing, you catch your fish, you can eat it. That's the natural cycle of life. I agree with that, and that's, I won't just aimlessly go out and just eat something now.
I think that's an intelligent way to look at it. I mean, sometimes it's a controversial subject in some ways because people worry about animal abuse and stuff. But I mean, the fact is, just being human beings, we already trash things regardless. So whether you're eating all vegetables, you still have to harvest them, and harvesting them, like, you'll kill thousands of rabbits and rats and moles and everything else. There's no way to avoid it. So I think the best idea is to do it you just suggested, which is respect where it came from, and there's a lot of work that went into it, never mind the lives of the animals. And, instead of just being a clown and wasting food, to try to appreciate where it comes from. I think that's, it's a good attitude to have in general.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is. Yeah, some people don't, but others,
I agree. So it looks like your mom and dad are watching. So you have to make sure you watch your language.
Yeah,
anything's going to get you in trouble.
Yeah, she always tends to wash my mouth out with soap, and I'm 40 years old.
So let's watch that match from WAF. Not to open old wounds, but I think it was a pretty cool match to watch, regardless of the fouls.
Alrighty.
And
Don't show the loss.
Well, I bet you those people, especially, I'll watch it and see what people have to say about it.
No problem.
Yep. So this is in the finals.
And first off, barring anything else, great hit.
Yep.
Perfect timing.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. So that was called as a strap match by Leonard, and I agree. Leonard is, in my opinion, one of the best refs going, but he wasn't in the best position to make that call. So I sort of feel like the down ref should have been more vocal about the obvious intentional slip in a losing position, which is a loss.
Yeah. I think the down ref was going to give the call, and then Leonard stopped it because I said to Leonard when I said that was a pin, and he says, I'm more concerned about your elbow. I'm like, well, if it was an elbow foul, then call an elbow foul.
Right.
There's no black, it's no black and white. There's no in between. There's no grey area. Did you see an elbow foul, Leonard? Yes or no? Well, I didn't call one, Paul. So it's a pin. Surely, it's black or white. It's one or the other. There's no in between. There was no reason for a strap to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's my take of it, and a few other people's. And nothing against Leonard. He's a human being.
Sure.
He's a great referee. Did he make a mistake? Yes, he did, and he's there to see. But he's a human being, and he's all's forgiven. Maybe I'll just voodoo doll him a couple of times. But other than that,
yeah, it's very difficult because you can only call what you see. Looking back is really easy to do, obviously. Like you said, it's black or white. If your elbow came up, it's a little foul. The thing that for me is that according to WAF rules, at this point right here, it's an intentional slip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you understand because the intentional slip is your fingers are wide open, according to the rules, Either the fingers are wide open or the knife of your hand comes up underneath as you pull up. And obviously the second part of that rule did happen in that match. But yeah, hindsight's easy, really easy to talk about. Of course, Leonard is the man, but that's what happens sometimes when there's 3,000 matches in a week.
Yeah, I mean, the guys get tired. The guys get tired. And to be fair, I mean, it's just a shame. If it would have been a first round match, it's a bit more acceptable, or a second round match is a bit more acceptable. But this is, it's final. It's something that you've trained for, majority of your life, and it may be a Masters World title, but the class was stacked. Yeah. It wasn't a normal Masters tournament. No, 10 years ago. It was like 20 odd absolute animals. Right. I mean,
that's what people forget, that when they're used to what Masters looks like, in our local tournaments where there's 2 people or 3 people in it. At Worlds, most of the people there have been coming to Worlds for a long time. Most of them have competed in the senior classes, and most of them are very recognizable names.
Well, and you're right. Sorry, Josh. Sorry, you pulled you pulled Raymond's last year, yeah?
Yeah.
These people probably don't realise who Raymond's is. I mean, the guy was in World Final a couple of years with Prudnik right-handed. He's been European champion and been in a final left-handed. And this guy still competes at the top of the tree.
I know.
And then he went and got beat off the Turk.
Unal Turker.
Yep. Right-handed. So, I mean, the level, there's a shift change. I honestly believe that if you take away the top 4 or 5 of the 90s and then through the Masters in that class, then they could quite easily compete with it, or same with the hundreds. I mean, the level of the Masters is sky high. I'm not bothered what anyone says anymore. It's sky high.
Yeah, I mean, people have to come over and try it before they'll understand it, but I totally agree with you. The reason I was showing this video was not to, first of all, I was there obviously watching it, and the crowd reacted very strongly to the fact that it was not called. The only time that people reacted as strongly was in the Gennady match. So I think everybody there knew it was a pin, and it kind of sucks that it went down that way. But the reason I brought it up and wanted to watch it is one of the things that gets talked about frequently, especially at WAF, is the use of video replays and the fact that they are not currently doing it. This would have been a perfect match for a video replay because it would have been very obvious. If Leonard and the down ref came over and looked at it, it would have been like, oh, we missed that one, because it was not close. There's some that were, the Siliev one that people were really upset about. I mean, Leonard had the perfect position, and it's so close to being a pin that, I mean, in my opinion, it's hard to question Leonard on that, although I know a lot of people disagreed. But in a case like that, who knows? But with yours, for example, I think that would have been an immediate reversal if they had been able to watch the video.
I think so. I think so, but it's we can't change it. It is what it is. And
what do you think about? Do you think they should have video replays?
Yeah, I mean, they have it. Obviously, they have it in Zloty, and it's successful. But people moan that, oh, hang on, the tiniest little elbow foul, the tiniest little this. But for me, and this is where I like the strict rules, it's your job as an arm wrestler to keep your elbow down on the pad.
Correct.
And keep it inside the 7 inches pad. Just that's your job. So when you're training, I mean, a lot of guys were whinging about the squared shoulder. Oh no, he's over straightening me. Well, you should train straight.
Yeah, it shouldn't be uncomfortable for you to follow the rules.
No, of course not. So keep your elbow on the pad. No, I'm not bothered. If people want to put a camera on my elbow, and follow it round, then by all means do it. Because if my elbow comes off, then I've made a foul. I've not stuck to the rules. I deserve to be punished. End of. And I think this, in something with WAF, it should be used. I mean, you've got 40 referees. You've got you have an appeal process. So right. I'm sure that there would have been another 20 referees watching my final. So they could have converted. They could have got together and they could have made a discussion and said, Leonard, on this occasion, we believe that you're incorrect.
Yep.
And reversed it. But I also think that, I like to put the hand through the pad. You like to feel like you're beating the man as well.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I hear you. And like you said, it's motivation for next year.
Of course, yeah. And you know, Landshare he's a solid puller. You know, the guy I had a super match with him in the PAL in 2005 or 6 in Bulgaria, and he beat me there 5-1. And then Worlds 2006, I beat him. So there's a bit of history between us, a little bit of needle, you know. So we've both been there, we've both been in that thing, and we spoke before the tournament. He said, "You in good form?" I says, "No, I'm a master. No, I've not trained for 7 months, you know, trying to play the game." And I said, "You trained?" And he just went like this. He unzipped his top and he just went like that. I thought,
yeah, he looked like a cyborg.
Yeah, unbelievable. You know, I mean, I'm like 100 kilos and I've got like this, like snowman look. I've got like that fat belly and saggy tits and skinny arms, and he's like built like a brick shithouse. You know, he's like, I mean, how am I 100 kilo and how are you 100 kilo? It's just not right, you know.
Yeah, and like you said, you like to feel like you pinned somebody, and I don't know if you saw the video, Paul. I know you were there and everything, but you basically did. I'm just trying to give you some credit here, but maybe
I'm really trying to be like. You know.
Oh, you handled it very well.
Yeah,
I mean, the whole thing with reffing is, I feel like, you know, John and I both ref at local tournaments, and you know, every tournament there's definitely calls that we miss and people get upset about stuff. And I always feel like if we had a video that was, you know, standard in a certain place that was very clear, then whenever somebody was like, "Dude, you missed that call, I pinned him, that was an elbow foul," you could just check. And then if you screwed up, it's so easy to fix.
Right. And with the thing too, you know, with the WA, obviously, because we just watched the video, they had the slow-mo replay from multiple angles right immediately afterwards. So we have the technology now. Like for a little while, we didn't have that at WAF, but now they have to have it as part of those contracts for whatever country takes it. So if we have this technology, maybe, you never know, maybe these kind of situations will make a precedent where this will happen in the finals only. Because I kind of understand why, if you have 8 tables running, 10 tables running, we can't have video replay for all these tables. It's just, you know, because it would take 2 weeks to get over the tournament. But you know what, in the finals, when things really do matter, when the refs are the most tired because it's the end of the day, all of these things, and I know that they do the best they can with keeping people fresh and cycling and all that kind of stuff, and they do a great job. But you know, when it really does matter, and matches do historically take longer in the finals because, one, it's the baddest 2 dudes in the tournament, and 2, because if you're going to take your time, if you're going to do things right, if there's going to be a lot more rest grips, all these things, because everything matters more. You know, that maybe someday we can do that because we do have the technology now. Like you said, it works well in Zloty.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, they do a good job in that. I mean, you almost feel as though if you do make the finals, and Josh will tell you this now, you almost wish you'd finished 4th and you could go home early because you've got like 3 hours wait before your final.
Yeah, for sure.
And then when you're waiting for your medal, there's another 2 hours waiting for your medal, and you sat around 5 hours and you're thinking, thinking medal or subway, you know, and you're thinking, I just want to go, but you know, it's I honestly believe that, you know, the next year or 2, I think they'll have that. They'll have it down to a T. It does improve. It is improving.
Oh, big time.
You know, from back in my first Worlds in 2003 in Canada, and that was a good Worlds. I enjoyed it. But the refereeing's so much better back from 2003 and onwards. There's so much more. It has evolved, and you've got to give the guys credit. I mean, just to bring all the nations together, and bring all the referees together to have that understanding. I do like it. I love stringent rules. I like tight ruling because that's the sport.
Yeah.
And I feel as though when I did my little trip into WAL, as much as I loved it, is more like a Wild West.
Definitely.
Saloon brawl. You know, I mean, it was like for me, it was like Wild West because I'm like, yeah, and then over there it's like, you know, but don't get me wrong, it was exciting for me. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it. The competition, I thought that the finals this year was amazing, even though obviously of all the situation we had, it was still amazing. All the guys were there. It was good fun, but I just love the tight ruling. You know, I like the 7-inch square pads. I don't like me, you know, and if you make a foul, you make a foul. You know, hold your hand up and say that's it. So.
Yeah,
I agree.
Like, you know, professional sports should have professional rules, and
Yeah, exactly.
After a little while with the WAL, because when they first came through, they were a bit tighter than they were when at the near the end, and they kind of turned from rules to suggestions. They were like, well, it's an elbow foul if it comes up. Most of the time, that's what it felt like a lot of the times. And I know you wrote me a message a few months ago saying, hey, I just got back from this, and I'm like, man, I know you're kind of a finesse puller, so am I. Like, do you think the age of finesse pullers is dead? And I'm like, well, not if straight wrists are involved, because sometimes, close your thumbs, close your hands, and this is where we're starting, and that's just the way it's going to be. And in that world, then yeah, maybe it is dead. But you come to WAF, something like that, where it really does matter, and all of a sudden you see different styles start to come to life, and people having to almost adapt back, because there are some guys who went to WAL and they had a hard time.
We had people on Team USA who went 0-2 on fouls because they didn't believe us, saying it's super tight, you can't move, you can't lift your elbow even the tiniest amount. Like, it can't be that tight. Foul, out. It's like, imagine spending $2,000 to fly over there and compete and going out on fouls without ever actually having an arm wrestling match, because the rules are so tight.
I went over to Pascal Gerard's competition, Gladiators Night, shit-hot tournament, really good. And we'd just done the WAL qualifier, for European qualifier.
Yeah.
So this was a month after, in April. And I set it up, in every match it was ready. And you don't think it makes a difference, but I'm hitting everybody on the ready, because obviously it's just in WAL, it's just go. And I'm hitting everyone, and I'm sort of feeling a bit guilty, because everyone's like, because I'm anyway, and all holding their arms. And Pascal, a good friend of mine for many years, he pulled me to one side. He says, "Oh, Paul, you can't do this. You fucking hurt people, you bastard."
You sound just like that.
But that's like Pascal's bollocking. That's Pascal's bollocking, and so I had to slow it down. I mean, I did quite well, but it does take time to adjust. I mean, the guys that I train with, none of them guys were pulling the WAL. So, to be honest with you, I was quite unprofessional in the way that I approached WAL. I didn't really practice it, because on my rota that I do every year, on my planner, WAF was the main target. That was me. That's the one I wanted to peak for. I don't peak for many tournaments. I mean, for Vegas, I trained 4 days before, taking off in a way. I mean, I did quite well. I mean, similar situations happened. I managed to take a pin off Justin Bishop and Tony Katowski in the same slipping positions. I give them restarts, because they wasn't necessarily happy with that. I give them a restart because I speak from both great guys, and they both beat me in the strap.
Mm.
Now, I'm generally a decent strap puller, but I just felt with a WAL, I was just half a second, where I was going to come up and come across with tighten the strap. I was just half a second behind the thinking, because with WAF, I don't have to think what I'm doing. It's ingrained. Mm-hmm. But with WAL, I was a novice. I was a novice in it, and novice thinking. So you're half a second behind, and that was the lack of professionalism on my part for the trade for it. But I had the ultimate goal at the end of the year, which I've just achieved. I got silver. It wasn't the goal I wanted, but you can't train for everything. You only compete for maybe 1 or 2 tournaments a year, and that's yours. The WAF to do that,
Yeah, sure. And like you said, that especially in the straps, having that second of you're a half second behind. It's a big deal when one start you have your hand open and then you have it closed for a second, and then the other ones, it's a big deal when you start with your hand, you get your own grip and you start with your hand closed. In terms of straps too, especially the straps, but and also just in terms of being ready. We all saw close your thumbs, close your hands, no knuckles, gone. But but the go just happened so quick. It's impossible for those refs to do their job properly, because the pace of the goes, the pace of the setup was just, it made everybody's job impossible, really.
Yeah, well, I found it with a WAL that a lot of the guys, the North American style is the majority of the pullers I've come across is they're almost pulling before the go. It's all this.
Yeah, loading.
That's not our European style as such. We're more. We're more dead loading, as you call it. We're a little bit more, if you load, I'm letting it go. You're going fishing.
Love it.
You hit into a shirt and we're off. That's more, I mean, there was a comment the other day, I think it was when I was watching your show, the Mexican dude, Alan Guerrero.
Yep.
And he was saying he felt that American guys had stronger hand and wrist than the European guys. Now, I couldn't tell you if that's true or not. I just know that from the wrestling with the European circuit, they don't try and kill your hand as much. They don't try and give you the old death squeeze.
Sure.
And they don't try and beat you. And maybe this is what I thought. What Alan may be thinking more about, because Babayev and people like that, they have hands of steel. It's just the fact that they want to go from 0 to a million mile an hour like that, and you know, it's just different, and it's different techniques, different.
It is definitely
different countries. So,
all right, let me get some of these questions in because these guys are being very patient. I'm gonna combine a couple of them. So Kriggy from Sweden, first of all, he says hello, and he and Jonty Murphy both want to know, where did your love of arm wrestling start? Like, how did you get into the sport initially? And then Kriggy also wants to know, how do you feel arm wrestling has changed you as a person?
Right, firstly, I got into it. My mate come knocking on my door, this old school friend. They went knocking on my door. He says, Paul, he said, there's an arm wrestling tournament in the local pub. Are we going? I says, arm wrestling tournament? He went, yeah, it's a charity event. He says, come on, I'm going to enter. So I ended up, says, go on, then I'll come with you about 10 minutes after. We walked in, and all these guys are like, all this tournament. I'm thinking, what the friggin' hell's this? I'm like, we watched over the top, but next minute you actually seeing guys doing it. You're thinking, and next minute he said, "Come on, have a go. You're good at arm wrestling. You're good at arm wrestling." I said, "No, I can't be bothered with that. Me, I'll watch you. And then suddenly, 10 minutes later, my name gets called out. He'd signed a form, little bastard, and and that was it. And I had to go, and I was just basic, your usual. But instead of doing this, I was like just flying about and. I thought, hang on, I did okay. I did this novice event and I won it. And then there was an intermediate class, which is, the step up. And I got second in this. And then the guy who was running the event, Peter White, he said to me, why don't you come training? I thought, training for arm wrestling? And as most guys do, And he says, yeah, we train in a local bar. I says, well, I'll give it a go. And January 1999, I went and started training and... they put me against all these guys, first about 10 guys, and I wrestled them all and everyone beat me. And then finished me off, they put me against a couple of women and they just leathered me as well. And I remember going home that night and like, oh, God. And, I thought, so I ended up going back week after week, and then every Sunday and Wednesday I went back and got me beaten and got me beaten and got me beaten. And I entered my first novice tournament after a couple of months and I won. And then I entered Professional Arm Wars 2, Neil Pickups Arm Wars 2, and I finished third in 100 kilo category. And I'm thinking to myself, third? I'm in a professional tournament. So I must have had a little bit of nous about me. And then a couple more competitions after, and I pulled pro ever since, July 99. So 6 months of pulling and pro. And I never looked back. That was it. And as far as like being involved, how it's changed me as a person, it just, I don't know, it makes me happy, it just makes me feel like I'm part of something bigger. I feel like I'm, like now, we're chatting away. It's a community. We don't all have to be the best in the world. We all can't be best in the world. But the thing is, it's the people that we meet, the atmosphere, just everything. I just love arm wrestling. It is my life beyond my family and my children. It is my life. I think about it every second of every day. I mean, I wake up in the morning and the first thing I'll do is like, give it the old squeeze, and I'll do a couple of rotations, and I'll come downstairs, and if I'm buttering my toast, I'll be like a top rolling butter like this on toast. just like you guys, and and I'll be after just changes you. I just think that you become a better person because you're not only doing like healthier things by training, but you're enhancing your life. You're just enhancing other people's lives around you. Then you start coaching people and you're enhancing their lives. It's just one big happy family. That's all I can say. One big happy family, and I love being part of it.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many hours, just endless hours I've spent going, if I ever pulled that guy, what would I do? You just imagine the setups. You imagine, if you imagine being in the strap with him, you imagine being in a hook with him. You just all these mental, like, I can't, I can't tell you how many mental tournaments I've been in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even that kind of stuff,
I'll be honest with you, I'm in a mental tournament now because I was going to pull 90 kilos at WAF this year, and I watched like a million videos of Josh, and I'm thinking, he's got a big hand. Oh, he's got a long hand. Thinking, how do I lower his lever?
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for me, one of my closest friends' weddings about 4 weeks before, I'd have been pulling that 90 kilo class. So
that would have been fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you might have to give me a good hiding.
Well, speaking of the 90 kilo class, we have a big match in that class coming up in New England, October 28th, with Rob Vigent and Craig Tullier.
Can't wait.
Yeah, who do you think's going to take that? It's right-handed, mind you. Do you have an opinion?
Was it best of 5?
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to go 3-2, Rob. I just think that I think Craig in Vegas was in immense form. He looked amazing, and he's so fast and direct. He's definitely going to get at least one pin from Rob. But Rob will stop the match, and when he does, I think he'll put the brakes on Craig. Craig will tire before Rob will in endurance, and I think Rob will win 3-2. But he could go 2-0 behind first. I'm not quite sure, but it could be a massive comeback. I think Rob's going to take it. I love Rob. I mean, this is for Rob Vigent now, a glass of wine. I've had it here all day.
I'm super psyched about the match. I mean, I think a lot of people have ideas about how it's going to go. And, there's so many. I mean, like you said, Craig was in incredible shape at WAL, and he gave Todd Hutchings all he could handle righty. And so if that version of Craig shows up, I find it to be a very, very tricky match to predict. I just can't wait to see it.
It depends on which Rob turns up as well. I mean, if good mental state Rob turns up, then it's a what. The only thing that worries me is Craig is so fast and direct. He will go straight through Rob's bone. He's going to bone line him. So if Rob doesn't get the power down within his angle,
right,
that's what worries me. I think Rob's going to have to start off with a really big angle. So because he's not going to be quicker than Craig. So Craig's going to move him 4-5 inches. So if Rob doesn't get this angle on and he doesn't stop it within his shoulder, within his muscular, if he gets anywhere out here, then he will beat Rob, in my opinion. But I think Rob will change because he's versatile. Rob, he's a good puller. He's a good puller. It's just sometimes he sleeps and they can get position on it. I just think that one pull's going to stop. Just one match is going to stop, and that one match will make the difference. And Rob will. Rob's got good stamina as well. He can pull. So
he does.
But I love Craig. I love Craig too. Yeah.
I know. I think they're both great people. We've had them both on the show, and it's one of those things. It's I don't really even want to predict it because I like both of them a great deal, and I just can't wait to see them compete. And I honestly don't know how it's going to go. I mean, I can see both sides. If Rob is in absolute top form, you'd have to give him the advantage. I mean, if Craig's in top form, you got to give him the advantage. If they both show up like that, then it's just man, I just can't wait.
There's going to be a bit of arguing at the table, I think.
I think you're probably right. One thing about Vigent, though, is that he's a guy that, and John will back this up. He just wants to arm wrestle. He won't fight with you on the grip unless you fight with him. He wants to get up there. He'll just grab hands and go. And I think Craig is a very fair puller as well. So I don't think there would be. I hope there won't be as much arguing as people think, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, it'll come. Is that the only super match you've got on?
No, we also have Jerry Carteret and Michael Gould. Those two guys have also never pulled before.
And Gould's been looking really good, in my opinion, lately.
I like Mike. I spoke to Mike on a few occasions. I like him. He's a gentleman,
Yes.
Not that Jerry isn't. Is it that's right-handed, of course? Yeah.
Yes.
It's hard to count against Jerry if Jerry's in, because Jerry had a very unfortunate event in Vegas. He got that food poisoning.
Right.
And I saw him walking in for the weigh-ins, and my gosh, he looked immense. I thought,
yeah.
if he lands on anybody with that shoulder, I thought, He just looked unbelievable condition.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. I just think it's very hard to get around Jerry's press. There's only one or two guys. Can Mike hook him? If Michael ups him in a full up, maybe he can do it with Jerry. But I just feel Jerry will just even if he gets inside, he can just revolve to that press.
Yeah.
I'm going with Jerry 3-0, but Mr. Gould, I love you. Yeah, but
I think Mike, he knows he's the underdog, and I think he's relishing that role. So he's
his left arm's mega as well. So.
Yeah. Here's another question. I'm not sure if I can pronounce this woman's name, so I apologize if I can't. But Vegeta, I think, wants to know if you're coming to the Swiss Pro Arms next week.
Unfortunately not. No, it's my year done now.
There you go. Well, so next year, obviously, you're going to try to go back to Worlds. Do you have any other big tournaments that you're going to try to do well at?
You've got me, Jay?
Yeah,
we can see you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, for a second. No, that year done now. No more tournaments. Probably just come out now and put on EAF and in Bulgaria in May, then WAF in September, Turkey, I think. Then with the main nationals. Depends. I mean, we are nationals in August. I didn't pull nationals this year. It's the first time since I come out of hospital, and I've won it for the last 6 years, so it was a bit hard work this year. I won it from 2011 to 2016, and with nationals being it was 2.5 weeks before Budapest.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a no-no. You can't do it. You can't peak for everything. We're risking putting any injuries in. So if nationals is in the same time next year, I won't be entering. I'm going to speak to Neil, see if he'll bring it back maybe a month or two. But obviously that's up to him. He runs the federation, so respect anything he comes out with.
Yeah, that's something that's difficult for, in my opinion, when it comes to things like nationals and then worlds, or with WAF where it was regionals and then finals, was these tournaments were so close to each other.
Yeah,
people get
tough.
Injuries. People peak for these tournaments, and that's when I don't know about you, but I know I take my most damage at tournaments where I peak for them. I'm the strongest version I've ever been.
Yeah.
And
you're like the motor car,
Yeah, you're the strongest you've ever been. You have the most potential for damage. There's no real good time for real good warm-ups like you do in training. You're coming in there basically as cold as you're going to be, hitting as hard as you possibly can. That's when we're going to get hurt. I just don't feel like there's enough time for people to heal up, especially with the regionals and the finals where it was 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, there were people that were far in better shape at regionals than they were in the finals, and that just seems to me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, with European guys, we had that we had ours in March, so we had about 12 weeks, which for us it was fair. For the US guys, it wasn't, and I agree with you there, John. If you're peaking for a tournament, you're very best. You're training straight through. You're only ever about 90% all the way through the year, and then you take your 7. I don't know if you take about 7-10 days.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, 7-10 days rest, and then your pinnacle. So it's very difficult to get that 2 weeks out the way. I mean, I was going to train straight through the tournament, but I just didn't want to. The level in Britain, it's pretty decent. You can pick up a bang. I didn't want to risk it. It's up to other guys if they want to risk it. But as I get older now, when you're 40 years old, you don't heal the same. You don't heal the same, and you need that little bit more time, especially with the routine I follow. It's I never lift in light. I used to lift light. I used to like putting the blood in, but now I just stick in like 10 or 15 grams of citrulline malate, throughout the week and on my days off, and I find that I get a better recovery from taking just the one full day off now. And using the citrulline malate and the L-arginine because it gets the blood flow going. Because a belief I actually have with the training is that if I'm lifting heavy, like I've heard this comment from you, John, if Bam Bam lifts big weight, he gets strong.
Yeah. Right.
Now, I believe if I lift a big weight on a Monday, and then I lift another big weight on a Tuesday, and then it's back. I don't believe that doing a lightweight will do me any favours, because I'm still going through the same motion. I'm just aggravating what I did a couple of days ago, because I can't do 300 repetitions and 400 repetitions. I've tried it, and it just doesn't fit my... I mean, not saying it doesn't work for me.
Oh, for sure.
It doesn't work for me. I'm not saying it doesn't work for you, but it just doesn't work for me. So I'd sooner get me resting with the one day off I have and get the blood flowing through the supplements. I just don't get any benefit from 300 or 400 repetitions, because it builds a bit of tendon and ligament, but I tend to do that on the table when we're training.
Totally agree.
Yeah, just that's my opinion. Obviously, Devin disagree. Neil Pickup loves doing his hundreds of repetitions. Both guys have been world champion. I've not, but I've also seen Neil Pickup wrist curling 240 kilos double-handed. You know what I mean? So that guy lifts heavyweights as well.
Yeah.
So, but I think, if a power lifter got benefit from lifting light weights, then he'd lift light weights, but he doesn't. He lifts heavyweight.
Right.
And this is something that I'm trying to get into. But I like working the power as well. The 10 sets of 3. I think this is more important than strength, because even if you're just 1 or 2% behind a guy who's stronger than you, but you can put him in a position where he's 5% weaker than you, then, and I like working through the bone of a guy, I don't ever really attack a muscle of a guy. If you watch the video with Lanchar or the other guys, I tend to I'll try and position my elbow to the A side of the pad all the time, and then when the pendulum comes through, I'm putting them through the bone. I always attack the bone on the ligaments and tendons, never through the muscle, never come through the muscle if I can help it. And I believe this is the key to power. That power gets you there, and then your technical ability after will work.
Yeah, and I agree with the power assessment that you have of never going above 5 reps. I honestly, I've done it all too, and for me it's 5, 3, 2s, and 1s. Very very simple, very basic, but man, if you peak or if you get a plateau at that 5 rep range, move to 3, move to 2, move to 1, then come back to 5 and tell me if you're not stronger, because you'll be stronger.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, and people think you can't have good form with heavy weights. You can. It just depends how you lift. I mean, if you watch Todd Hutchins on some of his videos, I think to myself, my God, how's he not even in A&E? And I'm thinking, because I try and keep my form more, he's in nature, and he's probably reached he's attained strength that I could only ever dream of. So I'm not going to criticise Todd at all. I think he's fantastic, and he's one of my favourite arm wrestlers. He comes to just brute power. But I couldn't train like that. I've got to make sure I'm always training within my angles, and you can attain good strength by training within your angles and without coming out of form. If I'm doing a static lift, for instance, or I will never. As soon as it opens, it's gone. It's gone. I'm probably the world's weakest guy in this position, but that position generally won't win me an arm wrestling match, because you've got to find you've got to be technically sound everywhere, but you've also got to work your silver bullet.
Oh, for sure.
And my silver bullet has always been power, and it's always been it's always power and speed. I've always lacked that little bit of strength. I've never been able to mix it with the major top guys, and maybe that's because of one or two things. It might be because I'm natural, or maybe the fact that I don't have a greater regime. I don't really know, but I just think that power suits my style so much better. And
Well, I'm with you on that. It's another reason why I prefer WAF and the very few number of tested events that they are. First of all, you mentioned a lot of things that I agree with. And our age, I don't think it's a good idea to be taking those kind of enhanced supplements when you're over 40 and peaking for tournaments. I mean, again, when you're our age, for me, it's nationals and worlds. So the 2 tournaments that I take a full rest for. Everything else I train through. So I try to peak twice a year. And I think that's appropriate for people, at least for me. As you were saying, it's very different individual to individual. So you always have to consider that. But for me, that's what works best. And I don't know. The natural thing, we're going to try to have a show pretty soon, Paul, where we have someone who's very pro-steroids and someone who's very anti-steroids come on and try to have an intelligent discussion about it, because, it's something that goes back and forth in our sport.
Yeah.
I mean, probably every sport it's rampant in, but in our sport in particular, because there's such a lack of tested events, it's people really can use whatever they want whenever they want.
Sorry to interrupt, Josh.
Go
At the Worlds this year, I didn't know anyone got tested in the Master Divisions. Did you? Do you know anybody who got
You know
tested?
what? I asked Leonard about it, and I mean, I'm Simon, sorry, and he said they did do tests, but they did significantly less tests than they did last year. And I don't know why, but I didn't personally see anybody get pulled for testing
No,
in any
not in my class
division.
either. Well, I was a bit disappointed about it, to be honest.
Like, last year in Bulgaria, I mean, everybody right from the podium, they took you back and they tested you, or you had to pull a card to get tested anyway, which I liked because it keeps people honest, And actually, one of the guys in my class, left-handed, got popped and got a 2-year ban, So it's like, I want to see that because it makes me feel like, all right, we have an even playing field.
Yeah, there's always going to be a big debate with the anabolic thing. Personally, I'm not a fan. I don't think you should be taking it. There's going to be a lot of guys disagree. It's the biggest area we've got in arm wrestling. Now, I think more guys than ever take steroids in our sport now.
I agree.
That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think that Wal bred a lot of guys.
Absolutely.
I'm not afraid of saying what I mean. I think that I saw guys who I've seen for years be like this and then end up like this.
Oh yeah.
Now,
we all did.
That's fine. There's big money online. I understand that. There's big money. People getting exposure, and it's how can I put it in? But it's a difficult subject because we all know people who take juice. Yeah, we all know people who take juice. I don't agree with it. I'm not a fan of it. I don't think you should be doing it. If you are doing it, the bit I hate most is just be honest about it. Okay, so don't. If you ask someone, what supplements do you use? Okay, I use ashwagandha, I use ribose, creatine, beta-alanine. I'll openly tell you what doses, citrulline, malate, whatever I use, I'll be open. But if you ask someone who's on juice, what supplements do you take? I do a whey protein, a little bit of glutamine.
Not too much though.
Yeah, you're talking shit because I work in the supplement industry anyway. I know more about the shit than most.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lie to me, buddy. You just tell the truth. I don't give a shit that you're taking it. Just don't bullshit about it. So I prefer it if everyone got together and just said, "Oh yeah, man, yeah, fucking hell, what you taking? Oh, I'm on 2 millitran. I'm on 6 millideca. Yeah, no problem. What you on? Well, I'm on a tribulus testuous.
Right.
Just be honest. It's too in the closet. It's that far in closet. It's stuck in Narnia somewhere. So it's.
The only people that are really open about it are Europeans. I mean, even when they come to the States, they're like, they'll be very open about it in practice. So this is what I'm taking. What are you taking? And you're like, you tell them you're not taking anything. What do you mean you're not taking? You're not serious about the sport? What's your problem? They don't get it.
I've had that myself. I've had that myself. And I think that the Europeans, though, I mean, I'm going to defend the Europeans slightly. Is the Europeans get a big rap for steroids? No,
they do.
They clearly do take steroids.
We deserve it in the States too. I mean, you're right about WAL. I mean, if you talk to most people who are physical trainers, they'll say, if you're putting on more than 5 pounds of muscle in a year, then you're taking something. And like you said, you see people put on 15, 20, 25, 30 pounds in some cases.
Yeah, and on half of their body.
Right.
Not even the whole thing.
It's never on the legs.
Weird.
It's never on the legs. Weird. How weird. Neil Pickup is watching. He says hi.
So who's that? Sorry, John.
I said Neil Pickup just started watching. He says hello and he hopes.
Neil. Yeah, all right. He'll be ringing me tomorrow. He'll be like, oh yeah.
He missed you were talking a bunch of crap about him 5 minutes ago. He missed that.
Yeah, well, he did give me a good tit wank in 2004. Put a bit of weight on. So.
Yeah, my only thing about steroids, like you said, just say it. It's not a big deal. But really, I think it's a weird thing when any sport where you put your hands on somebody. It's really strange when you're enhanced that way when you have to touch somebody, because now we're talking about the possibility of damaging somebody, right? But me personally, I mean, listen, people take steroids. I'm not going to quit the sport because people take steroids. At the end of
Right.
do I think it's cool? Do I think it's, okay? No, I'm highly against it. But what am I going to do? Quit? Of course, people are always going to do what they want to do. But it is really strange when you talk about striking sports or something where I'm putting my hands on you and I'm trying to put you in a position that your body doesn't really want to be in. We're not hitting the ball. We're not trying to run faster. I'm trying to potentially damage you. I mean, we don't want that to ever happen, of course. But I mean, that's we've all seen it. That's where it gets a little strange.
See, what is though, John, with people like that, they only see the end goal, and a majority of the time, the end goal is a trophy. I mean, yeah, we had a little bit of money in WoW. I mean, if someone's taking if someone's making $2 million a year, yeah, you can sort of understand the theory behind it. But when someone's lifting up a plastic cup, it's just like, it's a little bit different. I mean,
for sure.
If you're doing it for cosmetic reasons, then by all means do it. But you don't need it because, I mean, end of the day, yeah, we all want to be the best arm wrestler. But I mean, you're going to be the best arm wrestler ever. But what have you really achieved personally? Deep down, when you sit there in that chair at night and you think, what have I really achieved? Have you really achieved it, or have you had to cheat to achieve it?
Oh, sure. I mean, and hey,
It's a good point.
if you're number one, or if you're off the shit and you're number 6, that's the whole thing with me too, with the discussion about like how important for the sport is genetics. Well, nobody knows, because a lot of the guys who have like these perfect genetics, they also have a perfect sports nutrition plan here. You know what I'm saying? So, these conversations get really strange when we talk about like perfect genetics for this sport. Well, it's like, are you sure they have good genetics, or would they be fourth place? I mean, these things, where's the confidence that it brings somebody, the mental confidence that it brings somebody. Is that guy really such a badass? Or is what he knows he's taking make him such a badass? Because we all know, if you can be a beast physically, if you don't think you can win, you're probably not going to win. That's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
True.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think you get to the genetics part of things. I mean, I'll bring Neil Pickup into this, especially while he's watching. I mean, the guy's got an arm about this big. His fella's a Lego man. He's got a tiny little hand, but he's been 2-time world champion. Now, this guy, he started training me after about 2.5 years into sport with like the Secret Stuart Hall, a couple of English arm wrestlers. And these guys have no genetics, but my God, they've reached the pinnacle. And I know Neil is the natural. He is the natural. He's always gone against your steroids.
Yes.
For me,
he just posted about it, actually. He just said, the truth is, if you're on gear, it was never really you. End of story.
Well, Pascal Gerard said this to me. He said to me, you know what, Paul? Because when Rustam got done, Pascal had finished second to Rustam 5 times. He would have said, I would, if they took his titles, I'd be 5-time world champion. And I think Neil, he's finished second about 9 times, so he'd probably be about 11 times world champion.
Sure.
So I think it's unfortunate that you got to lose to these guys, but people have the mentality where one guy thinks he says, well, if he's using gear, well, I'm going to use gear but 2 wrongs don't mean a right.
Correct.
Right.
But it's sport. It's always going to happen. And I think the more that we concentrate on it, we start to give the persona that the guys on gear that we can't beat them. We start to give ourselves a mental capacity that, hang on, he's on steroids, I can't beat him.
100%.
So I tend not to try and think about this so much. So this is why, from many years ago, the style of arm wrestling I got was always to, Neil says, silver bullets kill monsters. So build a silver bullet, put that guy out of a position. I'm not going to. I mean, I can probably curl a 12-kilo dumbbell because I'm terrible at curl. I don't think I've curled since I was 12. I'm never going to attack anybody against the muscle. Because if you attack a guy who's full of gear, he's curling a 70-kilo dumbbell. It's not going to happen. But you can arm wrestle this guy. You can rotate him. You can turn him palm up. You can put him outside his shoulder. You can get into his fingertips, because no matter how much steroids people might take, they can't make their hand and wrist any stronger. It isn't going to get any stronger. You just got to know where to attack these guys at the right time. And I'm sure loads of guys were taking gear now, probably thinking, they're going on about steroids. Listen, whoever's taking it, crack on, enjoy yourself, compete. It doesn't matter to me. But when you're in bed at night and you've won that trophy, and you haven't really won it. Just hello. I'm only joking.
No, I agree with you. And what you're saying is another. You were talking about Pascal earlier, and he's a master of that. I mean, he beat the strongest guy in his class in the seniors this year, and he takes people out of their game. I mean, he's really, really talented at taking that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
he has. Have you seen the move he uses though? He has one of them funny arm locks like Crazy George.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, I'm on this table now. We're talking. He tattoos me on the table. Actually, we're talking. But he has that turn like he's saying there all the time, and it's just literally there. And trying to hook him, it's just unreal. And he's just literally that's it. You know, it's very just perming off.
Little stabs.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And the best hookers in the world can't hook him. I mean, I've only seen Rustam Babayev hook him. Anybody else, I can't remember. The last guy I saw him in a full bicep hook with, you know. But when I've trained with Pascal, I've been over to Geneva and trained with him, and he has the most basic training routine Monday, Wednesday, Friday of all time. He just does a few crazy moves. He does a fast wrist curl. He does a fast back pressure, and he does a bit of chest press. You know, the guy doesn't even train arm wrestling. That's all he does. He doesn't really train he does 400 sit-ups every other day. That's all. You know, no pull-ups, no nothing. He just works on that. He just wants to be strong here. And obviously the proof's in the pudding because the guy's 50 years old.
Right.
And he's still mixing it up with these like 25-year-old Georgian kids and he ruins everybody's day. I mean,
he does. He totally does.
Yeah. Did you see the match with Prudnik? Did you see the match with Prudnik he had? 7 minutes.
Yeah. That was amazing.
Oh, I mean, and that's another guy who's like on the next level. He's like one of his favorite arm wrestlers right now because he looks like a string bean.
He does.
He does, and he's just, oh my god! I was like, when he's watching with Sasha, I'm like, come on, you know, I'm just watching to win because
the match with him and Segre left-handed was one I was just like, what the hell? How did he go through that guy like that?
No, he's so intelligent though. I mean,
very.
A few years ago he pulled Rustam Babayev. You know, he out wrestled Rustam, and I thought to myself, who is this kid? And then obviously now, as you further it goes on, he's unreal. He's my favourite arm wrestler.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. Obviously, he's incredibly powerful. Obviously, but you can really see that guy. He really knows how to arm wrestle. He uses his arm length. Very rare to see someone who uses their arm length to really push the match through the arm. So by the time, if it doesn't matter how strong you are, by the time at the end of it, you're gonna be holding onto his arm.
Sorry, can I flip you over like this?
Sure.
Yeah. Can you?
Yeah, we can see you. We can see you.
Am I on a funny angle though?
No, you're good.
Oh my god.
You're good.
But yeah, that guy just pushes his arm. Like by the end of it, if it's a long enough match, you're gonna be holding onto his arm. Because he's just pushing his arm through. Even when he's in a hook, he's just always kind of just running through. You know, it's very rare to see somebody with that kind of movement these days.
Sorry, guys. 1 second, that's better. You're upside down and everything then to me.
That's no worries. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, Prudnik is one of the guys. Actually, Prudnik and Sasha are two of my favorite pullers to watch just because their technique is. Yeah, we're good. I mean, they're just amazing to watch. All right, Paul, we kept you on here for an hour and a half now, so I'm sure you have other things to do, like sleep probably, but this was really a lot of fun, man. I learned a lot, and it was great talking to you. You get a lot of positive comments for you on the feeds. You should go back and read those. And
hallelujah. Thanks, guys.
Dude, best of luck this year, and we'd love to have you back on again sometime soon and keep in touch.
Anytime, guys. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. And thanks to your wife for us for sharing us.
Oh, one more thing.
Autism shoes. Autism awareness.
Yeah, autism. Very nice.
We've got to do it every hour. You know, they've got to be out there. Autism awareness. Chris Myers. I know he suffers like me. You know, he's got beautiful young boys like me, and just autism awareness and support it and make everyone aware. Thank you,
Chris. Yeah, Chris is watching right now, so he just gave you a shout out for that.
Yeah, Chris is the man.
Chris is the man. Chris, we're going to have you and Eric on the show, too, soon. We got so many people we want to get on the show. We don't do enough episodes.
I know.
All right, Paul. We appreciate it. Say thanks to your wife for us, and we'll talk soon, man.
Okay, thanks, guys. Thank you very much. Take care.
Later, man.
Adios.